A U.S. military refueling plane has gone down over western Iraq, but this was definitely no ordinary accident. So, in this explainer, we're going to uncover the facts behind the crash, the secret war it was a part of, and maybe most importantly, why its impact is being felt far, far beyond the battlefield. So, let's just start with the most important and tragic fact here: the human cost. U.S. Central Command has confirmed that all 6 service members who were aboard the aircraft have died. Okay, so what exactly happened? We know the aircraft was a U.S. Air Force KC-135 refueling tanker, and it went down during a combat mission. But the actual cause of the crash, well, it's not what many people initially feared. Almost immediately, officials made one thing crystal clear. This tragedy was not caused by enemy action or, some kind of friendly fire incident. That quick, really emphatic statement was crucial, because it immediately shifted the focus of the investigation away from combat and towards something else entirely. So, to really understand what might have gone wrong, we first need to get to know the plane itself. The KC-135 Stratotanker is kind of the unsung hero of American air power. Yeah, pilots have a perfect nickname for it: the flying gas station. Its whole job is to meet up with other jets in midair and just top them off with fuel. This is what dramatically extends the range and the time that fighters and bombers can stay on these critical missions. Okay, so a few facts about this aircraft are absolutely critical. First, it's based on the old Boeing 707 airliner. Now, a typical crew is just 3 people, but this plane had 6, which strongly suggests it was a long-haul mission that required a relief crew. But here's the most sobering detail: there are no ejection seats. On an aircraft this massive, a catastrophic failure in the air is, tragically, just not survivable. So, if it wasn't combat, what caused the crash? Well, the investigation is now zeroing in on one leading theory, and believe me, it is a world away from all the speculation that immediately flooded the internet. The leading theory right now is a mid-air collision. See, we know there was a second KC-135 flying in formation with the one that crashed. That second plane managed to land safely, but photos that came out later showed significant damage to its tail, pointing directly to some kind of impact while they were in the air. So you've basically got 2 competing narratives here. On one side, you have the official one, which is supported by evidence like that damaged second plane, pointing to a collision. And then on the other side, you have all these unsubstantiated claims that just spread like wildfire online. Officials have been stressing that these refueling missions happen over friendly territory, far from any hostile threats, which makes the claims of a shootdown pretty improbable. Retired Navy pilot Matthew Buckley really explained the danger of this misinformation. He pointed out that Iranian state media was already claiming they shot the plane down. So when people online repeat those same claims without any evidence, he says they're basically just amplifying enemy propaganda. It's a really stark reminder that this stuff, this misinformation, has real-world consequences.
And this whole thing really begs the bigger question, right? What was this high-stakes mission even about in the first place? This tragic accident didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was part of a much larger and, honestly, a largely hidden conflict.
Turns out, this refueling mission was part of a bigger campaign called Operation Epic Fury. Now, that name might be unfamiliar to most people, but it describes the ongoing, active military operations by the U.S. and its allies against Iran and its proxy forces across the entire Middle East. This is not a conventional war with clear front lines. Think of it more as a sprawling, low-intensity conflict that's often fought in the shadows. And make no mistake, this is a very high-stakes shadow war. I mean, it involves everything from drone and missile attacks on U.S. bases to Iranian strikes on regional oil facilities. There's even a naval element with tons of attacks on commercial ships. This is the volatile, dangerous environment where that KC-135 was operating. And to really put this loss into perspective, you just have to look at the total human cost of this operation. Before this crash, 7 U.S. service members had been killed during Operation Epicuri. This one single incident nearly doubled that number in an instant.
But here's the thing. This conflict isn't just happening over there. Its effects are literally rippling across the globe, and they're influencing our politics, our economy, and even our security right here at home.
Politically, this conflict has drawn some very high-level attention. In a recent interview, President Trump actually referred to this whole wide-ranging operation as a little excursion. And when he was asked about an endgame, he said the war would be over when I feel it.
Economically, you might be feeling the impact directly at the pump. These attacks on shipping have caused U.S. gas prices to rise steadily. And to try and ease that pressure, the administration temporarily lifted some sanctions on Russian oil, a move that officials admit will give a financial boost to Vladimir Putin's regime.
And then there are these really serious concerns about how this overseas conflict could echo back home. 2 recent domestic attacks are now being investigated for possible links to international terrorism. In Norfolk, the suspect had actually been jailed before for trying to support ISIS. And in Detroit, it was reported that family members of the attacker were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon just 1 week before the attack.
You know, the tragic loss of 6 service members in what was ultimately a non-combat incident, it really highlights a new reality. When a war is fought with drones and economic sanctions and online propaganda, it forces all of us to ask a really fundamental question. In a world that's interconnected, where do the front lines really end?